Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining. We're going to have a fun little evening tonight. This is social media marketing meetup. Tonight's topic is prospecting on LinkedIn. I hope you're all here for that. Somebody was asking about the burning convention. I think that's a different one. So I want to start out just by giving some kudos to Kim. Kim gave me the opportunity to speak to you today, and I met Kim, kind of seen her on the circuit, and she touched me digitally in a number of ways, but did it feel good? Most recently, I've come to know, like, and trust her. We both spoke at the DMFB, and she helped me with a interview. And I was super impressed with how she said, "Hey, are you doing this? Why not? Here's how to do it." And she immediately just provided value. She started giving me value without asking for anything. And that's kind of my model. She stole my model. So she did. And then I helped someone else do it. So it was kind of a pay it forward type of moment. So, hi, welcome to the Design Studio, folks. It's good to see you. Hey, Bob. So then she asked me to do this, and I'm happy to contribute. What I do is I use LinkedIn for my job at Time Warner Cable. I'm in B2B sales, and I'm always searching for people that are in that space to convince them that I can add that we do business. So I'll talk about myself in a second, but I want to talk to you just kind of about what to expect from this presentation. I'll probably talk for 30 minutes or so. We're going to show you some demos, and I'm just going to show you my technique, some of the things that I do. Hopefully, you'll take something from it. So, quick poll: who uses LinkedIn? Okay, that's 100%. Who's in sales? Just about everybody. Yeah. So, I promise you that you will learn something that you can use tonight. And I have a double your money guarantee. Full refund if you don't take something actionable away from this evening. Sit anywhere, guys, informal. So my agenda looks like this. I'm going to kind of do a quick intro on myself, talk a little bit about a profile. It's going to be super basic. Talk about LinkedIn as a CRM tool. By the way, I don't have a lot of text on the screen. It's mainly pictures and placeholders. We're going to talk about what I call social grooming, that touch factor that I mentioned, using LinkedIn as a microphone, and show you what I call a trick to hack LinkedIn a little bit, and then I'll kind of wrap things up. I will say this. Who here has a paid account on LinkedIn? Does anybody have a paid account? Through your company. For everything I'm going to show you tonight, for the most part, you don't need a paid account. Even for prospecting on LinkedIn. LinkedIn has and there are some bells and whistles to it, but for the most part, you don't need to pay to use LinkedIn. It's an incredible asset. It's a Rolodex. It's the modern business card. These things, this is outdated technology. This is what we use to remember and connect with each other on LinkedIn later. So LinkedIn is just an incredible tool, and for the most part, everything you need on it is free. So that's kind of the setup, what to expect. A little bit about me. I've been going into my 5th year at Time Warner, probably be working for Charter soon if you've been following the news. We're going through an acquisition. And I work with small to medium-sized businesses to connect them with targeted audiences through Time Warner Cable. So my target audience are marketing managers, small and medium-sized business owners. Your target audiences may be different. Doesn't matter, because we all have different connections on LinkedIn. I moderated the LinkedIn Live Members Conference last year. LinkedIn actually partnered with a local organization. LinkedIn, the corporate company, chose a firm in Raleigh, or a networking organization in Raleigh, to do their LinkedIn Live headquarters event. That was really pretty cool. Someone from LinkedIn came and spoke to the audience. It was from their business development group. I've done a few meetups on this, and the reason I do these things is I just like to share with people what I know. I'm not going to try to sell you anything tonight. I'm going to try and give you some free tools to use, but I want to be completely clear about my objectives. I don't really have any. If you guys know me and take something away from this tonight, then I've achieved my goal. So that's my objectives for this evening. So without further ado, lastly, if you have questions, feel free to ask. Keep this informal. I did throw up a hashtag LinkedIn Meetup if you want to tweet about the event, and I'm at Neil_Isaacs for all you tweeters out there, which I highly encourage. So that's a little bit about me. I do want to speak to what's in a profile. So the context is you're in sales. You probably have a business website, but your LinkedIn page is like your own personal landing page. You may even have your own business page, but if you get a prospect to the stage where they're thinking about doing business with you, they will hit your profile page, and they're going to do their due diligence by looking at your profile page. So it's beholden upon you to do a few things to make sure that they're not going to get there and be like, I don't really want to do business with this guy. So I do want to walk you through just a few things on a basic profile, and I'll use my profile to do this. I'm logging this Kim.
Don't ask me for my password, I don't know.
It's stored in there.
Because if it wasn't, I wouldn't know it.
I'm using Kim's computer, so bear with me, because if you ever have new keyboard syndrome, it can be a challenge. All right, so this is, let's just walk through my profile as an example. There's a few things that I always recommend people to take note of on their profile, especially for sales reasons. Number one, gotta have a professional headshot. David Williams did this headshot. He's done a lot of my friends' headshots. He does great work. It's worth investing in a good headshot. When you think about how your profile comes up in a search, all you really got is your headshot. And if you're trying to tell a story by hanging out against an airport, you got your pet in there, or you got someone else in there, and your name's Chris, and they don't know if you're the guy or the girl. All kinds of reasons. If you get away from just a basic headshot, you'll lose people right away. That's very simple. Moving down a little bit. Here's my post. Here's my summary. I'm going to come back to my summary. Here's my experience. This is basic stuff, but my recommendation for writing your experience section from a sales perspective is not too different from the job point of view. Use lots of action verbs. So in my case, almost every one of these starts with executing, completing, touching, delivering. I like that word, touching, if you haven't noticed already. Deliver, so action verbs, and if possible, use a lot of numbers. You can be quantitative. Increase sales by 300%. Did attain this goal by so-and-so percent, double, triple. So these are basic points on writing a profile. One thing a lot of people don't realize, your profile may not have your certifications at the very top. Does anybody else have your certifications at the top thing of your post, or maybe at the top? I put that there because in my industry, the IAB is a certification that's specific to digital marketing and digital advertising. And I was able to move that. There we go. Well, you can move these sections. I'm not seeing it on Kim's computer here, but there's typically a little beacon that'll open up right here and allow you to move segments and modules around. So if there's a part of your profile you don't like, move it to the very bottom or delete it. And the ones that are super important to your industry, if you have a certification in production or finance or web design, put it at the very top. It's going to be a conversation starter. Coming back up to the summary section, what the summary section should do. Newspaper terms, it's basically the last thing above the fold. It needs to tell a story. Everything in your experience section that you achieved, you need to take some task from every job that you've had and apply that and tell it in a story that essentially tells your client, your prospect, how you can help them. What have you done in the past that can help them today? With prospects, it's all about them. So think about who's reading it and what they need to read. That's going to be like, oh, this guy's worked with Subway before, or this guy is specialist with HVAC service, or this guy's done that. Whatever it is, think about your customer when you're writing that hook. The last thing I'll show you on the profile is this little button on the side, and I hope you guys can see this. I know it's small. It's very important. Keep in mind, this publish, notify your networks. When that's on, you're broadcasting every change that you make to your profile.
Okay.
Which could be good if it's like, just got promoted, became a manager, or could be bad if you're connected with your boss. And it's like, you know, I'm seeking a new job. So just be mindful of that, notify your network. LinkedIn actually pushed that right to this section recently. It used to be hidden in the section in the settings. So they're kind of telling you right there, hey, this is public. If you change something, going out as a broadcast. Those are my tips on your profile. Any questions about that? Pretty simple stuff.
Did you say that used to be in the setting, but it's still there and now?
It is. It is. Yeah. Yeah. Anytime you edit, it's going to pop up this little widget here and allow you to switch it on or off. Okay. So let's go back to this. We talked about telling a story. Mainly, your sales page should not be a job seeker page. There's a big difference there. LinkedIn CRM. What do I mean by this? This is where LinkedIn is super, super powerful. So, do any of you use a CRM tool? Okay. What type of CRM tool do you use?
We use a
Infusionsoft. Okay. You may work for a larger company, or you may buy it yourself. You know, CRM tools are expensive. And in my opinion, we have a CRM tool at Time Warner. It's more of a management reporting type tool. As far as what I think CRM should do is a customer relationship management system to stay in touch with customers and hopefully find new leads. There's no better system than LinkedIn. So let's start with a search. When you want to do a search, you're going to blow right past this bar at the top that says search. That's for your basic searches. Go to advanced search. Now you're building a prospect list. When I start out, I've got 4 million prospects that I connect with. These are people who are connected with me in some way. This type is I would say, okay, I know I want to connect with somebody in Raleigh. And I know I want them to be in marketing because that's the nature of my business. And I want them to be second-degree connections. I don't want to look at first-degree connections because I'm already connected with them. Hopefully, I'm already fostering relationships with them. I'm looking for new people that can enter this wheelhouse of the perfect prospect for me. And in my case, I'm looking for a media buyer. And I hit search to tell me that in the Raleigh market, there's 58 results for people who are second-degree connections to me that are media buyers in the marketing industry. These are like perfect prospects for me, but there's more. I can save this search right here. This is the LinkedIn Save Search feature. It's going to say, hey, Neil, do you want to call this the media buyer search? Neil, would you like us to send this to you weekly or monthly? So now LinkedIn is literally going to monitor what these 58 people are doing, and if other people add media buyer to their profile, it's going to notify me, and if they drop off, who cares? But this is as good as it gets as far as a wheelhouse for my perfect prospect. So that's an introduction to advanced and LinkedIn save searches. It's an incredible tool, and I always start with second degree connections because my next step is going to be to find who we're connected with. So in the case of Jen Coleman, let's just do a live demo here. I don't know Jen Coleman, but I'm connected to Jen Coleman by Kelly Crawford. So depending on my relationship with Kelly Crawford, my approach to Jen Coleman would probably be to say, hey Kelly, how well do you know Jen? Would you be open to introducing me to Jen? And that turns a cold lead into a warm. So there's all kinds of scripts that go with that. But this is networking 101 in the digital age, and it's super effective with LinkedIn save searches. Any questions about that?
How many people do you target? Like, do you go 5 people a day to try and add to your CRM? Like, what's your system?
As much as I can. I don't really have a system per se. I kind of batch it. I'll go in there like, oh, that list, I haven't seen a lot of those people, and I've done that filter before, and I've been like, these people I tried these folks or what have you. So I kind of go in there once every few months and see who's new. And I check those emails that I get from LinkedIn as well. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about groups, because groups are kind of where the real magic happens. And I call it, this is where it gets into social grooming, is what I call it. And I have this story that I like to tell, and bear with me on this, because I'm going to kind of go out on a limb here with this story. My undergrad is in biology, and so I'm kind of a biologist in nature. So back in the day, we were all monkeys, and we hung out in trees, right? And we had these different tribes, and there were tense times where we were fighting with each other, and then there were other times when it was calm and we just kind of sat and ate fruit and kind of groomed each other, picked bugs off each other and ate them and everything. And if you fast forward to today, it's actually not that different, because we're still sitting in trees and we're still communicating with each other, but now we're on Facebook and LinkedIn. And when we like and when we retweet and when we share things, it's the equivalent of those monkeys that are kind of picking bugs off each other. We're sending these signals in an open environment that we're giving props to each other. It's, let me give kudos to you in a public environment where everyone else can see. That's what social grooming is. And that's what takes a relationship from just some cold profile that's hit me up to somebody that's kind of been following me and digs what I'm doing. So social grooming is really important. We do it on all social networks, and on LinkedIn has some great features in the connection sections where it tells you whose birthday is coming up and who's getting promotions. Those are super easy. And then groups are another way that you can get super in-depth. So one of the best groups, and I'll jump over to LinkedIn again. One of the best groups in this area, I think, I always recommend is Linking the Triangle. Who's in Linking the Triangle? Almost everybody. So if you're not, a guy named Greg Heyer runs it. He's got almost over 17,000 members, and they're all based locally. So the ways to pick good groups are make sure that they're local. And then, one is to pick local groups, because you have a good chance of meeting them in person. And it kind of depends if you're in national sales or local sales, but probably a lot of us are in local sales. Pick groups that are in your vertical. So if you're going after lawyers, go for a legal group, service trade, so-and-so. Those could be very big, and for us to go beyond our market. And then think about like ancillary type groups. Like if you're going after lawyers, but there's some type of accreditation and that has its own group, that could be a smaller pond to fish in. That could be a good place to think about. So those are 3 ways to kind of look at groups. But once you get into a group, it's important to kind of be mindful of the tone of the group. The worst thing you can do, if you really want to piss off a group manager, go into a group and start trying to sell stuff right away. Don't do that. There's another section called the promotion section where you can post that stuff. The best way to enter a group is to kind of go and see what people are talking about, see what gets the most attraction, the most activity, and then start to contribute to those type of things and follow people's profile back, and you can really start to learn how a group works that way. So if you want to do some promotions, you can do it through the promotions tab, and you'll ask the group manager, if they want to post that. So be mindful of how the group works. That's just a little bit about group etiquette. I do have a story I want to share about groups in particular and a prospect that I chased after for years. This law firm, everyone in this room has seen commercials for this law firm, and they're notoriously difficult to approach from a marketing perspective. And I used all my tricks as far as, I'll show you a trick I used on him later with getting messages into his inbox. And of course I called and left messages and went to his office, but he kind of stonewalled me and couldn't get through to the guy. Personalized letters, the whole bag of tricks. He was just like, he didn't tell me this, but he said, I know what you're trying to do. It's not going to happen. And I understood that. We played this game for like 2 years. But I'm a pretty persistent guy. And one day, not long ago, he actually posted in LinkedIn Triangle, hey, does anybody know where a good firm to do sales training? And here we are, monkeys and trees, open environment. And I know a great place to do sales training. And I gave him a review of the sales training that I've been through at Time Warner. And advice. I answered his question. Didn't ask for an appointment in the group format because that's not appropriate for it, but I provided him value in this open context in a stream with other people kind of pitching in as well. Just by following what his activity and understanding. Are you okay? There you are. Just by following along, that actually did change the dynamic, and something happened after that. And long story short, that interaction inside a group led to an appointment for me. So this is kind of stepping out of the box with prospecting, paying attention to what your prospects are doing. If I hadn't been super focused on this guy and somewhat stalking him, I probably wouldn't have come across that opportunity as part of prospecting. But nonetheless, the opportunity was there because of this group setting. So pretty cool story about breaking through just using LinkedIn groups. LinkedIn groups are kind of where the magic happens. Any questions about groups?
How are you monitoring? How did you know that you posted that?
That was in this group, the LinkedIn Triangle. They also send out, if you're in a group, you can adjust your settings. They'll send out emails that say this is all the activity in this group. I just happened to scroll through an email and see that he contributed. He posted a question, and that name kind of triggered me to dig in and go to the LinkedIn website and go from there. It's very easy to miss it. I mean, you could go to, if you're stalking a prospect, you can go to their activity feed and see what they're doing beyond in the groups and on their own LinkedIn page. But the summary emails that they send are pretty good for getting an idea about that. Usually when I join groups, first thing I do is turn off the emails because they'll sign you up for like daily emails and it's just too much. But I do keep some of them going. This one's a good one. There's some marketing groups that are good. Whatever's super specific to your field, if you get value of it, then I would leave those. A lot of them I turn off and I'll go and check them out once in a while. Is there another question? Okay. So a couple more things I want to share with you. One of them is LinkedIn Publisher. Who knows about LinkedIn Publisher? Okay, a little bit less. So LinkedIn Publisher is a free microphone, and it's relatively new. It's super powerful. The LinkedIn Publisher used to be only available to Bill Gates or somebody with a big reach, somebody well known to get this Publisher long form account. But as of like last year, LinkedIn just rolled it out to everybody. It's done really, really well in that a lot of attention is going to it. And if you read some of these posts, they're pretty sticky. And the way they roll this feed, you could end up getting your post next to a LinkedIn influencer. Somebody, a well-known author who's getting hundreds of thousands of views with every post, your article could end up right next to that and just be in this stream of posts. So all it is simple, long-form articles. Let's see if I can.
So are these the articles that you see people post on LinkedIn when it's like, you check out my article?
It is.
Okay, cool.
So I can, this is one I wrote recently. So I wrote this post, and it's a simple article, 400 to 600 words. The recommendation by Social Media Examiner is 2 posts a month, which is actually a pretty significant time commitment. But this is blogging on LinkedIn, is what it is. But the reason that I really do truly love it is every time I push out one of these posts, all of my connections, I have 1,200 connections or so, have the opportunity to see this. And I can't call 1,200 connections at a time, but I know they have the opportunity to see this. Plus, if you're lucky and LinkedIn picks up a post, it can put you in a channel. They do featured channels where they say, okay, we're going to feature articles on business in this channel. Your post can go out to an even larger group. So if I can find this post here, the mindset of entrepreneurship, it got 400 views, where the majority of my posts are 60 to a couple of hundred. Those 400 views were within like an hour of me posting that article. And I started getting people viewing my profile from all over the country. And it was simply because I pushed out this content, I tagged it. Tagging is really important when you do these posts. It asks you before you end to give it a tag. And I think I used prospecting skills, entrepreneurship, and business development. These 3 posts. And I was lucky in that LinkedIn said, okay, we're going to feature you in our careers channel. So it got pushed out way beyond my circuit. And this had 44 likes and some comments. So it's great to get that type of exposure. My profile is now reaching more audiences. And I can tell you, people, I run into prospects on LinkedIn. This is what they're talking about. They're logging in, and in their newsfeed, they're seeing, you'll just publish something on prospecting, or you'll just told me how to make a phone call, stuff like that. What if you don't have time to do this? Well, it doesn't have to be 400 to 600 words. List a few books that you found useful. Do a short write-up. Well, here's what I learned from a customer today. But push something out and just see what happens. I think the place you'll be surprised is if you go into the who's viewed your profile section, you're going to start to see, LinkedIn does a great job of showing your statistics. You're going to start to see these spikes where your profile is going out and getting more views. It's like LinkedIn publisher to this who's viewed your profile section. This is also a source of prospecting, because everybody who viewed my profile, and this is where it is, I will admit, it's advantageous to have a membership. Who looks at prospects that I consider, do I want to connect with these people? Do I want to send them a tailored message? On my computer, I actually have Outlook running, and I have a signature, a saved signature, and I'll drop that signature down. It says, "Thanks for viewing my profile. Can you tell me answer three questions, please? How did you come across my profile? Who is your ideal type of connection that I could connect you with? And who can I introduce you to today?" I literally copy that from an Outlook signature, and I post it into a connection request and say, thanks for, that's one way to get a little bit of value out of those people that are looking at your profile. I went and connected with some of the people who were coming to the meetup. They were on the meetup list tonight, and they're showing up here because they said, oh, look at this. But it gets better. There's a way to supercharge this, and I learned this at the Triangle Marketing Club. Big shout out to Chris and Cole on this one. So this is a screenshot of autopilot for LinkedIn. So that notion of seeing who's viewed your profile and going and pinging people, this program, you can do that save search that I talked about, and then those 58 or those 5,000 people, however many people you tell it to go after, this program will literally go and hit each one of those profiles and then back out of it. You're not engaging with them, but they'll see that you view them, and they're likely to come back and view yours. And at that point, you can start this conversation the same way that I was doing. So this is called Autopilot for LinkedIn. There's a trial course, there's a trial membership that you can kind of play with and decide if you want to experiment with that. It does kind of, I can't stand to hear my own voice, so I'm looking for the mute. Oh, it does, LinkedIn does have a lot of rules about stuff like this. They're not a big fan of hijacking the system and manipulating it, but my understanding, this system does a pretty good job of not breaking the rules on that. So that's called Autopilot for LinkedIn, and that was a nice little. So that's a website. I'll show you the website. That was a Autopilot for LinkedIn. It's literally a tool that somebody has created to plug into LinkedIn. And what I played was a snippet of how this works. But this is what their webpage looks like.
It's a paid service.
It is a paid service. You can do like a 30-day trial. And I'm not like an affiliate provider. It's just a cool tool that I discovered and I want to share with you because I think it's pretty cool. Cole, you know, is it $30?
Yeah, that sounds about
$10? It's a monthly fee to run it. Yeah. And actually, with the Triangle Marketing Club, Cole and Chris run it, and they've been using it to get more people to their group. So they're out there pinging all these websites, and everyone who pings it, they say, hey, thanks for connecting. I see you're in Triangle. By the way, I run this meetup, and you guys have, what, 200 members? 500 members? 500 members they've been going for a couple months. So that's a great success story for using LinkedIn to prospect, in this case for a meetup. So that's a pretty cool way to manipulate that system. And speaking of cool ways, the last thing I want to say about the LinkedIn publisher is this way that I use quite often. We talk a lot about groups to message almost anyone for free. So I'm using this website that I store some of this content on. And I'm going to play this video and walk you through it. So I talked about the power of groups. And I talked about having these prospects that you want to connect with and approach them in different ways. If you have a prospect on LinkedIn, but you're not connected, there's a way to put a message in their inbox as if you're a connection. So this is a 2-minute video that I'm going to play and kind of walk you through it. And I know you may not be able to see it really well.
Is it email or something different?
It's different than InMail. So let's just watch this, and I'll kind of explain what I'm doing. So what's happening, if you can't see it, I'll tell you what's happening. This is a guy named Alan Harris, and I don't know Alan Harris, but I know somebody that I met at the DNFB who is connected to him. So this long-haired guy, I just did a search of second-degree connections. I found this Alan Harris. Now I can connect with him and send him a message that way, or I could send Alan InMail, which is the standard way that LinkedIn does. If I have a paid membership, I probably have some InMail credits. But I don't want to do either of those things. And also the connect feature does have some limitations. It's kind of short, and Alan probably gets a lot of those type of connection requests. So how do I put a message in Alan's mailbox? I scroll through his profile and I start to kind of look at what his deal is and his history. check out his groups. We're not in any of the same groups. So I continue to scroll down and I find all of the groups that Alan's in. And I start to look at these groups and try and figure out what's a good group that me and Alan could be in the same group together that kind of makes sense. I'm looking, and I come across Kiva. So Kiva is kind of a good PR type group. It's got 15,800 members. And in this case, there's no moderator on Kiva. It's an open group. So they let you in automatically. Not all groups are like that. But from here, I can click on the members. I can click on the see all members section right here. I can search all 15,836 members of this Kiva group. I can type in Alan's name, and Alan's going to come to the top of this group. Now I can send Alan a message just because I found the group he was in, got into the group, and send him a message through the group. This message is identical to if me and Alan were first degree connections, but I'm not first degree connected with him. So the best way to use this is, if you're going to message Alan, is to be very transparent about how you got a message into his inbox, because it's going to be a little bit suspicious to him. So my message would sound something like, hey Alan, notice we're in the same group. We're both in Kiva. This is why I'm messaging you, and I would go from there. But I would kind of spell out how I got that message into his inbox as the first thing. Any questions about that little technique there? Yeah, most people like that.
You post that LinkedIn group. That's a YouTube video.
That's a new video. I can share it with you guys. Yeah. More about where that video is in a second. So that's what I call hacking LinkedIn. And there's some other tricks that people use, like changing up the information in your header. Some people say if you change that up, it's gonna move you to the top of the LinkedIn search. There's some other tricks like that. There's some cool stuff that you can do on LinkedIn. Set this up, and then I want to share a couple of things with you. As far as conclusions go, what I hope that you take away from this is LinkedIn is a very powerful tool for prospecting. Even if you're not in B2B sales, if you need to connect with somebody, when I'm literally making cold calls or searching for business intelligence, I'm going to the Secretary of Commerce website to find out who business owners are, and I'm opening up LinkedIn to see if those business owners are on LinkedIn and then who I know from them. So this is very much an integral part of my prospecting process. When I make that call, I know as much about it as I can, and LinkedIn informs me on that. So update your profile and utilize the tools that LinkedIn gives you. You really do get out of it what you put into it. It may seem like common sense, but it's very much true. It can also be something you spend too much time on, like anything, but there's huge value in it. So let me wrap up with this. I found something cool. This just happened the other day. This guy, Mike Sheila. Has anyone heard of this guy, Mike Sheila? So this is just a guy who posted a lot on LinkedIn. He does these posts, and they kept coming up in my feed, and I would like them or whatever. And I just thought I'd give him some props, because what he's doing is a really good job. I clicked through to his website, and then he said, get your free report on LinkedIn, my email address, and he sent me, I have this open, he sent me a 2-page LinkedIn profile review. So he went through 12 points and said, okay, your profile picture, here's how it is, here's how it can be better. Your headline, here's what it is, here's how, keep in mind it's got this many characters. So he gave me a free analysis, and he asked for nothing. So going back to my prospecting method is lead with value and then see if you win someone over. I just thought I'd give this guy Mike Sheila some props and say that my experience with giving him it's MikeShelah.com, MikeShlah.com. I can like SAH.com. Patrick's blowing up my phone. I'm getting LinkedIn. This is a real-time demo. I'm getting real-time notifications that Patrick's liking my posts. So my belt is vibrating. I'm having an intimate experience with Patrick right here in front of me. So last but not least, I blog on LinkedIn, and I also run this website called Pro Prospectors. Pro Prospectors is my blog, and I just share types of information like we're talking about today. One new thing that I have not yet launched, but I'm in the process of launching, is called the Prospector's Path. So I want to show you the Prospector's Path because we were just in there, and some of the videos that we're housed in are there. And so this is what it looks like. This is an online course for prospecting, and it's yet to be released. But I'm sharing it with you. Just this is the front page, and it kind of talks to you about strategy of prospecting, literally how to make phone calls, how to approach people on LinkedIn, a lot of stuff we talked about today. Literally how to go out in the field and knock on doors and what to say and what not to say to people in the field. And all the things that I've kind of learned over the years, I've tried to put in this course. The How to Message Anyone for Free, that video is on there. The Steve Jobs technique, super popular, is on there. And you may wonder why I'm walking you through this. And the reason is I'm looking for some beta testers. So I would like to invite, I have some cards, I'd like to invite anybody that would like to try this out for free to just have a free membership and kind of give me your feedback. So once you get in, I'll give you the free login. You'll see the actual modules, which I call the path, and this is where the individual steps are. We spend a lot of time in the LinkedIn step. So I want to offer this to everybody here. Just if you're interested in learning about prospecting, I want to give you this tool for free. So come get my card, and then I'll send you a login to this. Just looking for feedback on that. So those are the two things that I wanted to give you today. I want to thank you, and then I'll turn it over to questions. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? In the back.
I probably have one from at the beginning, but recently you said something where you could send these people a message on LinkedIn.
Yes.
With the race date and time to learn about me.
Oh, yeah.
But I get people, that I know that they looked at my profile. I go look at their profile. I can't send them anything unless I go search for their email, but you're not supposed to.
So the how to message anyone on LinkedIn for free is how to message almost anyone. The only caveats to that is they have to be in a group. If they're not in a group, that whole strategy doesn't work. And then that group, once they've joined it, there's a box whenever you join any group that you have to uncheck that says don't allow other group members to message me. 90% of people don't uncheck that box. But the way we went into Alan's profile, we scrolled all the way down to the groups. That's how we were able to message them because we were in the same group. Does that answer your question? But you're absolutely right. If you're not connected, you can't message them without a paid feature.
You follow them?
You can follow them if they write content.
Yes, so then.
Yeah.
If you like something.
Yeah, you can start to interact with anybody on LinkedIn, even if you're not connected, and that's a good way. If you really want to connect with somebody, just give them props to whatever. Those posts that I write, they take me like an hour. So if somebody likes them, I automatically recognize and remember them a little bit. I think that's probably how this Mike Sheila guy got on my radar. As I liked one of my posts, and then next time I saw his, I'm like, so what's Mike doing? So absolutely, you can interact with somebody without being connected. Yes, sir.
I was going to say that I'm in a group,
Yeah.
a sales group, and they have a list of rules. And the first
Yes.
rule is you can't sell on it. And this guy comes up and says, again, here we have a new member that's been blocked and banned.
Yeah.
So you have to, the rules in that group, you have to follow those rules.
You gotta respect the group,
Yeah.
and it's really for everyone's interest because nobody wants to be in there. You can kind of tell when groups aren't managed properly because it's just like Viagra, Get rich quick. It's pretty sad when a group is not managed properly. So those are good groups if they care enough to put that time into it. Kim, you had a question?
On the groups, is it acceptable to say, I'm looking for a presenter for this meetup? Or, because they always say, be informative, educational, but what if I have a question, I'm looking for somebody, or if I want a speaker for a conference, or
Yeah.
if we need free space?
What? Are you a fan of Tim Ferriss?
Mhm.
So Tim Ferriss wrote The 4-Hour Work Week, and he wrote The 4-Hour Body, The 4-Hour Chef. And how he got his start is he had no name recognition at all. He went to all these conferences, and then he found the conference leaders, and then he got to know them and asked kind of how they set up their networks. And he got super popular, super quick because of this network he built. So my advice to you would be, every group's gonna have a group manager, and I would ask them directly, hey, I have an idea for your group. I just want to ask you first before I do that. And even if they were going to tell you no, once you've asked permission and nicely, they would probably be more likely to. And they may say, you need to put that in promotions, but at least you've given them the choice. Yes, Terry.
There's a guy by the name of Trevor Turnbull, and he has probably the best mentioned course I've taken called Linked Influence.
Yeah, I see those all the time, yeah.
But a couple of stats he has, and there's over 300 million users on LinkedIn. 2 new members join every second.
I believe it.
16th most visited website in the world. But the reason I really gave pearls of wisdom on Ray doesn't do a lot of stuff that he was talking about, but just do that on steroids. So it's definitely more.
The personal branding piece is where it takes the most time. My goal is, when I do these speeches and everything, I want to be the guy that's just, by the way, I'm in the marketing business and I find audience for people. Yeah, I hit you over the head with that. I'm going to, like Kim did when she met me. How can I help you today? That's what a lot of that personal branding is about. One interesting thing about LinkedIn was they marketed on Twitter in a weird way, where it's like, hey, read this now, and I go and I hit his landing page. Have you seen these? I don't know if you're on Twitter and you get these, but I've ended up on his landing page from all these different ways, and it's like, it's a little bit different. I think it's an affiliate marketing type thing, but it's interesting how it's marketed. But I'm glad to hear that's a good course.
Content is good on the course. I don't market it either. But
Yeah.
It's good content.
Yeah, I have to check that out. I'm interested in, here's how you can help me, everybody here.
Yeah.
Give me feedback on my course. Things like Terry just mentioned, like this is a great source of information. Please forward that to me because I want to just keep making this course better. I'm super into networking. So like I was giving Cole props on his marketing group, I'm giving Kim props on her group. If there's so many groups in the triangle, some of them are like awesome and some are, kind of. So if connect with me on LinkedIn, and I've actually done some of the legwork and connected with people on Meetup. Please keep me posted about good networking events because I like to want to just build those bonds. Should we throw open networking? Ken, this is
Yeah,
your
so
call.
if anybody has any more questions, or I'll stop the broadcast now.
Today I was using LinkedIn Publisher,
Yes.
and I was